immigrant parents like teach their kids that way. Because growing up, I'm Ghanaian, and my parents like made a strict like divide between me being African and me being black. I was never black, so all my friends who I had were usually like other immigrant other immigrant children, like other immigrants, like, and it was never like I never considered myself black. Like if somebody asked me what are you, I'd look African or Ghanaian. Like it was just the worst thing to do. Like I don't know, I don't know why. I feel like it's because like when my parents came here, they saw how black people acted or whatever, and they didn't want me to fall into that, so they always sent me to a private school because they wanted me to be more white on that white side. And like I feel like growing up, I had like this like I don't know, like this whole like, oh, like I need to have my hair permed and all this like kind of, I need my hair to be silky straight, all this kind of stuff, because that's what I was around. But as I grew up, I started to like realize that maybe I like how my hair is like normally without a perm in it, just because honestly, and it's just like, and like I remember like when I first did go natural, my like one of my best friends like, ew, why would you do that? Like why would you want your hair nappy? Whatever. And no, Abby. But and it was like, well, I mean, why do you want your hair permed? Like it's just the same thing. Like, what difference does it make? And like I feel like there's this like wave going around and people getting more comfortable with who they're like what they were born with and all this like natural fever and
She's like, I like my perm.
When I was a little kid, well, I was raised in New Jersey. I was raised in New Jersey until I was like 9 years old, and I lived with my mom. And I was just talking to her today about this. It's so funny. She put me in a Catholic school with all white kids, and I guess it was my first interaction with racism, but I didn't realize it until now. That whenever I went to that class, I was put in the back of the room, and whenever I would only interact with this one girl. Her name was Catherine, and I called her Katie, and she was like my closest friend. And one time we were giving each other a hug, and then Patrick was like, "Ew, you guys are lesbians," and I was just like, why do I have to be why are we lesbians because I'm giving her a hug? And like ever since then, I was just like, I remember I went home and I was like, Mom, why do I have to go to a Catholic school? Like I'm always in summer school. These kids don't like me. Like it's really uncomfortable for me. She was like, well, you have to go to the school because this is where you'll get a better education. And after I moved away from New Jersey and I came to Boston with my father, he permed my hair. Because my hair was natural up until I was 9, and then he permed it, and he was like, it's more manageable, it's easier for you, well, it's easier for me, and I was just like, okay, whatever, I just went with the flow. And then at one point, my hair fell out, so I went natural again, and I was in middle school at this point, and then the kids were like, they made fun of me every single day when I came into school with my afro. They're just like, oh, you look Haitian, you just came off the boat. And I was just like, well, it's my hair, like the perm, it falls out every time I put in a perm. They're like, you need to go do something with your hair, you just got off the boat. So I was just like, so then I ended up perming my hair again because these kids kept on making fun of me, and I was a really awkward kid when I'm still awkward now, but I was a little awkward kid, so I was they started ostracizing me, so I was just like, you know what, whatever. I went and permed my hair again, but that still wasn't satisfactory, like it wasn't enough. So at that point, I just like stopped interacting with everybody and just fell into my books.
I want you guys to consider skin color and its role it has among students in higher education. Think about UMass and your experiences, your past experiences. Do you think skin tone influences a student's self-esteem, maybe their involvement with the community, their organizations they choose, the level of leadership they're involved in, or overall their achievement academically at a university like UMass?
I will say something I believe, was it Dejanay or Rose that said? Actually Felicia said it, something like you were classified as an AKA because of the way how you looked and how you pertained yourself. And I don't know if you guys watch the movie School Days. It said like the lighter skins will go towards the AKAs and the darkers will be with the Delta Sigma Thetas. But over here on this campus, I've seen like one of my best friends, Jonathan, is Delta. So on this campus, I feel like not necessarily the whole campus has that colorism stereotype. I believe. I would say mostly within the. I don't know. I don't really see it here on this campus as much as
You don't think it influences in any way, impacts students or influences them?
not on this campus. No.
I feel like it does.
I would like it depends on like how you look. I would say organization wise, not like I wouldn't say Greek organization no, because I feel like it's more broader. You see different shades in all of them. At least like in my opinion, I do. But I do feel as though with certain RSOs, especially RSOs that are associated with culture. I do support, I do have to say I do support everybody, but I do have to like put out there that I wouldn't feel as comfortable like joining something like the Haitian Student Association, because a lot of the times at their meetings everybody speaks Haitian. That's what you're comfortable, which is
Creole.
yeah. Well, that's what you're comfortable with. They speak Creole, and I feel like as someone who doesn't speak, it does feel a little awkward because you don't know what is said. I'm not using it as like I'm saying that they're saying something about me, but like
You feel isolated.
yeah, it's like isolated because yes, you want to learn something new, but if they're comfortable speaking it because it's a organization that's specific for that culture, is different. And I do feel like sometimes the campus leans more towards of what they actually are,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
if that makes sense.
I've seen
guess-
it. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I've seen it in the leadership on this campus. It's just like I'll be emailing administration, saying, we got to do this, this, and that, and I'll be like, okay, I'll come in and meet you in the office, and then I go to the office, and they like, you just see a look of shock on their face. It's just like, oh, we weren't expecting you, and it's just like, so who were you expecting? Just from my emails, you were expecting, somebody, a white kid, and it's just like, so I've seen it on this campus.
Anyone else want to answer that?
Yeah, for me, the color of my skin influences a lot of what I do. Being a dark-skinned woman on this campus, I feel as if I have to excel. I have to work harder, 10 times harder, even than the people who are of lighter shades than me, because I've witnessed firsthand on this campus what it means to be of darker skin and opinionated, and being able to think for yourself and realize that institutional racism at this campus. I work hard. I've excelled to be who I am today because I know that being a darker skinned woman is going to count against me in the real world.
Girl.
I was gonna talk about colorism, but also talk about racism, sexism, ageism, all the isms. They're pretty much like as a result of a certain group of people's like plight to power.
You can call it out if you want.
No, I'm saying just like all these words.
Okay.
They're as a result of one group of people's plight to power by associating, derogatory terms or certain characteristics or behaviors to another group of people just based on superficial aspects. And by doing this, they put that other group of people in a bad light, and in that way, they become. They're upheld by the society, and they're expected to, achieve more. And I feel like it is a problem on this campus. We probably don't see it because only people who are in the power positions really have that, have the power to actually make a change on the campus. Like, we might not see that our teacher thinks of us in a certain way, but we don't know what he's doing when he's grading our papers. And I feel like just the fact that we're here talking about colorism, it shows that it is a problem, because over time it becomes institutionalized where everybody begins to think that way because of one group of people has continually put that in everybody's mind. And then it also the other group of people who is being treated a different way start to internalize that and then think of themselves as less than the other group, and it just becomes this big cycle which continues and continues. And I feel like all these isms are never going to stop until people start trying to help each other and stop trying to help themselves. Because once if we're all black one day, we're going to find something to talk about the other person. Oh, he has bigger ears, or he has a bigger nose, something like that. Yeah.
Which is also part of colorism.
Mm-hmm.
think racism is definitely something that's very prevalent on the UMass campus. And sometimes people like to say like it doesn't exist at the UMass campus. UMass campus is very diverse because they count international students. And so how could we possibly be racist at UMass Amherst when there's so many international students here? But I think with colorism, it's something that's slowly surfacing at UMass. I think that, people have their stereotypes because naturally as human beings, we tend to categorize things in order for us to think of things easier, in order for us to make quicker decisions. But I think, especially when people think of passing or, a teacher, being more favorable to, a student that looks white, but really she's a student of color. I think that's something that I see more than people basing their whether or not they get involved on campus based on colorism. I see it more so from the institutional level, from teachers professors who act certain ways with their students, or give certain privileges to students, or administrators that give certain privileges to students because they may pass or they don't pass. But I think racism is one of the more institutional things that I see when it comes to students being active on this campus. Because the one thing is that our students of color body are very afraid to be political and radical on this campus because, once students of color are mobilizing on this campus, we're automatically labeled as rebel rousers or troublemakers or, all right, we gotta handle these students right here because we have to make an example of them because if we make an example of them, then the white students will know better not to do anything. And so I think racism is definitely something that's very prevalent on this campus, and it's done institutionally so that we may not be able to pinpoint it, but then we can see it in the way that it makes us react to certain things.
I actually have one example of colorism. It will be quick. So I ran for trustee and I lost. And collegian, what the collegian did. But then once Yevon got into cabinet and we were, he asked me who I'd like to see on cabinet, and I told him Ave Thomas, who's now the
Secretary of
University Affairs or something. Yeah, she's the
Secretary of International University Affairs.
But University Affairs, that means you're interacting with community partners, meaning you're interacting with the Amherst Police, the 5 colleges, everything. You meet with the Vice Chancellor on a regular basis. You're basically another face of UMass. Now, for Ave to get into the SGA, even though she didn't have to, go get votes, get people to vote for her or whatever, she still had to go in front of the Senate and have them, vote her in or declare that it was okay for her to be a part of the cabinet. But if you were there in the room, and everybody knows she's my friend, but we look obviously different. I mean, I'm darker skinned, I'm natural, I'm very outspoken, I'm not afraid to speak my mind. So is Ave, but she's more, I feel like she appeals more to what they see as somebody who's able to work within the cabinet, who's not as, I don't want to say as intimidating as I would have been. And I think that showed with how they treated me and how they treat her.
Why do you think that they found her less intimidating? Because remember, the people in the class don't know what she looks like, who she is, or whatever.
Well, Ave's lighter skin. Last year, her hair was usually worn straight and long and curly. She was, I want to say Ave's more personal, maybe. She doesn't really come off as intimidating, maybe. She's very perky. She's a perky person, a very people's person. She's very people's person. She's very perky.
She rides around on a bike.
She rides around on a bike.
And so is this why you find that people feel maybe the perception is that she's less intimidating?
Yes.
Okay.
I know everybody who met me first and then has gotten to know me now comes up to me and says, "You're a lot different than what I originally thought you were." Every single person has stated to me that I was really afraid of you. I thought you were mean. I thought you were intimidating. I thought you were rude. I thought you were arrogant. They basically thought that I was a bitch.
I still get it.
Side comments, get them in. What
Yeah.
No, I was too. When I first met you, she was the
I do
president.
have to
She just
agree.
seemed real.
I wasn't.
Not afraid. But like a lot of people thought this about me, and I was just like, I'm not gonna say I'm harmless. I have teeth, but I have no reason to be rude with somebody on the first basis interaction. I don't know you. Why would I be rude? Why would I be arrogant? And and this is why I say my skin color influences everything that I do, because I know everybody judges me based on it. You can't tell me no different. Don't sit there and try to lie to me and be like, no, I'm not racist.
I knew you were a
because even though you're
sweetheart.
not doing it intentionally, I know in the back of your head unconsciously that's what you're thinking about.
I knew you were a sweetheart. You know why? Because our hair colors are the same.
So I heard both Woodland and Rose make reference, and also Francis make reference to racism and colorism. Do folks think there's a difference, or do people think there's a difference between racism and colorism?
The only reason I think that colorism is more relevant is because it's really hard these days to be able to tell what anybody's race is. So all you can really do is leave it up to like color. I know nobody in this room knows what I am except for y'all, so stop. It's just like, it's hard. It's harder to do it by race.
What are you? I'm gonna guess. Well, I'm not gonna guess. I'm gonna just keep a thought in my head and you tell me.
My mom's Cuban and black, and my dad is Brazilian.
Yeah, I wouldn't guess that.
Oh, I mean, I had no idea. I didn't think about it.
I
never thought about it at
it
all.
wasn't in my head to like think about
Yeah,
what
for
is
some
she.
reason.
Yeah.
I just said
That's a good point though, right? The
I'm
guessing
part
game.
Cuban.
What is
Y'all
she?
know that?
What is he? That's a part of colorism too, like trying to
I'll be
figure
real.
out what people are.
I automatically assume black because even though you were light skinned, you had short hair.
Yeah.
Some of you thought I was just nigga. Like, they're just like, you just black. I'm just like,
What do y'all think I am?
Could I just speak on something real quick? I feel like it's out of play or it's like not noticed. Like, I'm a regular black person.
Black
Yeah, because like I'm regular. Like I don't have. I feel so I don't have the culture as everybody else. Like I'm not Caribbean. I can't say
You
I'm
like fried
Caribbean.
chicken
I can't say I'm not fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, Southern black. I can say I'm Southern black, but like we don't get no shout outs. We don't. If you think about it, we don't get nothing. It's like everybody's like, oh, shout out to the Trinidadians, shout out to the Jamaicans, shout out to the Asians, shout out to the Spanish, and then we just be like, we don't get nothing for.
Shout out to the fried chicken crew.
Mo has something to say down there.
Basically, the colorism, I'll say it's mostly within the black community because basically when you come onto this campus, you're put like, I don't want to say recruited into these organizations because at first when I saw Woodland, I thought Woodland was just straight black. Like and then Francis lived with her over the summer, and then oh, she's actually Haitian. And you come over here, there's the Haitian Student Association, National Society of Black Engineers, African Student Association, Sisters of Caribbean, what's so good?
Students.
Students are Caribbean
Of Caribbean ancestry.
She was hurt when you said that.
So yeah, basically when you come here, you're already like going off into these groups, and there's already like a little Haitian clique because everybody knows Creole. There's an African.
I do notice he's right because I do notice the
Black
I'm like
power.
CVSA.
Hey, but I'm Haitian and I'm with
I would have never
BSU.
got that from you. Because y'all, you know.
It's all the same.
She's pro all. She's pro color.
I don't know.
But I think that's because
I'm
you
with
may
the
not
whites.
see that Haitians are very political too. So like you only think of radical black people, but I mean Haitians are very political. For black people, we have to be political.
I mean, the way I see it, your struggle is my struggle. If you win, I win. If I win, you win. We all win it
If you
together.
lose, you all
If I go down, yeah, right.
But to I don't think colorism is only between black.
Yeah, one bar.
I mean, I know some of my friends who are Latino that are
What
like,
the hell are
yeah,
you doing
the
to my
darker
headphones?
skinned Latinos are, we don't,
I've
you
been
know,
trying to
They're not.
No, there's a hierarchy within the Spanish
Yeah.
community. I will speak on that because I had a friend who he came from Puerto Rico.
We trying to deny it.
No, sorry.
He's from Puerto Rico, but I promise you, he's your color. He looks black. His name's Elvin, and
He is black, but
he's really dark skinned, but he's full Puerto Rican, and it'd be like, I don't know, like the fair skinned, like light skinned Puerto Ricans like to stick together, and then the dark ones, it's like you're always singled out in the group. Like I know all my friends at home are either white or Puerto Rican, and with my Puerto Rican friends, I'm always singled out. I speak just like you, I speak Spanish just like you, I eat the same food you eat, but I'm always like the black chick in the group just because I'm darker.
That's so true. My roommate Ramona, she was your skin tone, probably a little bit lighter, but she had thick, like Jay-Z lips, and like she was always complaining like my parents make fun of me. I'm like the darkest in my family. I was like, Ramona, I met y'all family. You're all y'all the same shade.
Yeah.
She was like, no, but I'm considered the darkest. I'm considered the ugliest because the only thing I have is my long hair. And then her hair fell out. And then she was like, I don't have nothing. And I was just like, you're light skinned, you're Dominican. But then when we tried to tell her, because she had thick, big lips, and so then we tried to, because of that, I felt like whenever we tried to tell her she has some black roots, she was like, I'm not black, I'm Dominican, I'm not black. Like she was adamant about that stuff.
What do you guys think that's from? Do you think is that like internalized racism or colorism?
That's internalized.
I think we're so used to being named that we don't want to be named that anymore.
As soon as you get called something, whatever that's associated with you, try and put yourself as far away from that as possible.
Especially when only pain comes from it.
Even being African, you make that distinction. I'm Ghanaian, I'm Nigerian, I'm Congolese, wherever you're from, because each group has their own type of stereotype, and you don't want to be associated with that. So as soon as somebody says, "Are you Nigerian?" you're quick to say, "Oh, no."
You Ghanaian? No, I'm not.
Like you're so quick, like, and your best friend may be that, but you just don't want to be it. It's just some kind
And
of.
even within the African community, I know from Sierra Leone, there's like the Mende tribes are like the richer ones that live in the city, and the Timni are the poor ones who live on the outskirts of like the country. And I know in Nigeria, there's little Igbo and all those other tribes, but it just keeps on like going down. Like the smaller you are into these groups, like there's more sections that you are amongst. Like I'm a Mende, Sierra Leonean, West African, like so many other groups you can be a part of.
It's like Haitians too, like they have like Munadea, so like people that live in like the mountains, but then you have like the city people, and like you never want to, like if you're from like Port-au-Prince and somebody calls you like a Munadea, you get like really offended because you're like, no, I'm not, that's not me, like I live in the city. And so I think they're just very internalized because of different stereotypes that are associated with these people. So like,
And one thing I know,
We gotta, quick.
I was gonna say it's the same thing with regular black people, because you have blacks that we call bougie, just as like you're bougie, you think you're better than everybody, like the suburban black people, and then you have the black people that's from the hood. Like it goes depending on area. Like I feel like you find a way to separate everybody. Yeah.
I get that. As
My boyfriend's parents call me Sadiddy every time I go to their house. I didn't know what that meant till like Thanksgiving. They were like, oh, she's Sadiddy. I was like, what?
I have one last question and then we'll wrap up. Well, actually I have two. One is Rose brought up, y'all actually brought up groups and, these groups as being supportive but also kind of segregated. What kind of support programs do you think the university offers for students, especially students of color and besides CMAS? Hold on, let me finish. If in fact you feel like the university does offer support programs, and then what do you think are some of the outcomes or effects or impact of colorism among you as college students here at UMass?
Sometimes I think, like, are they doing it to help, or are they just doing it because they feel like they have to? Like, they need something for, maybe.
I don't think it's responsibility.
One person in front. You don't think it's...
I don't think it should, like, we have to accept that the university, they're still gonna make their money regardless of whether we want to be friends or not. So I feel like if that's something that we really are, like individually, like we wouldn't have had this conversation if it wasn't for the fact that we've been doing this for this documentary. So I feel like if that's really how all of us feel, then whoever's the head of CASA, whoever the head of HASA, whoever the head of ASA, BSU, it should be our initiative to wanna, you know what I mean, do that with other organizations. CASA and HASA, I know they do their thing, but what about like to come together and to like let everybody else know about your culture, not in the way where we have like one culture night. I'm talking like on a regular basis, because you can't leave it up to somebody else to want to make that move for you.
Well, I don't feel like it's really about us, coming together. Yeah, we do have to do that because there is still this internal divide amongst minorities or underrepresented groups of people. But I feel like the university does nothing at all to provide us with like support groups and stuff. Like all the stuff that's started up on this campus was started up by students and people who find an interest in, you know, making a change in the society. The university does not really do anything to, you know, provide us with any tools or any resources that would help us, you know, excel any more than we already are. Yeah, that's just the way I feel about it.
Didn't CMS lose a grant?
Yeah.
I think
Right.
I think students on this campus are why we have these support groups. I mean, all the organizations that are on this campus were brought here by students, whether from frats to BSU. If students didn't say we want this organization here, it wouldn't have been here. And every day the university challenges students on why our organization should exist. Why should we give you money to put on an award ceremony? Why can't, you know, like,
You go to our awards.
you know, like,
stuff like that.
why do you guys need a separate senior ball? Like, why can't students of color just do a masquerade ball with all 20,000 people that go to the school? So the university every day challenges why students of color need support instead of realizing, oh my gosh, there's 32,000 people here, and maybe our students of color need a community in order for them to not only be here, but graduate.
I think they.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think they realize that, and I think they do what they do on purpose because I was working with CMAS over the summer, and the whole time our goal was to bring diversity to campus, and we were working with like other groups on the campus, and we were talking about diversity and stuff. But when you see like the people they're bringing in to try and bring more diversity to campus, they're not really bringing any people of color, any really black people, or any dark Latino people, anything like that. They're bringing like Asians or lighter skinned black people, and stuff like that in order to make the campus more white. In the sense they're trying to, mostly white or seeming white. In the sense they're trying to pretty much wipe us off the campus. Like they really don't need us at all. I mean, they feel like we're bringing no benefit to them.
Emerging scholars. I remember freshman year,
Yeah.
we know all the emerging scholars of 09 since we still hang out with
Every
them.
year diminishing.
And then I think
Why year?
I stopped by the next year. You know,
We
first
had
they're
this,
Asian, black and Asian. Like it's just like
It was like
they-
three black,
they're
it was like three
diminishing.
of us.
I think that I want to just emphasize what Rose said. I think this campus is forgetting one like essential thing that contributes to the success of black students on this campus and its community. Like unlike the white people who come onto this campus, the fact that there's so many of them, that the term community doesn't mean as much to them as it does to us. I've made it here to this point because of the people that I've met, because of the community of black people I've had to support me. And without that, I don't think I would have made it this far. Like, for white people, like I feel like capitalism is so ingrained within this institution that they expect you to succeed and excel on your own. Like you have to look out for these resources, and they forget that the term community is so ingrained. It goes even for Haitians, Africans, blacks. Like it's so ingrained. I was raised by a community. I was raised by everyone on my block. If I did not do my homework, my aunt down the street, around the corner would come and ask me, well then why are you watching TV and not doing your homework? I don't think they understand that how essential that is for us to have people who care for us, who are willing to ask us, why aren't you doing your homework? What are you having a problem with? Where do you need help? Where can I support you? I think that's where the university is basically blind to. They're blindsided, and they think that because there's these resources for everybody, that these resources are just going to help everybody, and they're not understanding that we come from a different place. Regardless of how much you want to integrate us and make us assimilate into this culture, we can't. Like, that's not how we were raised. That's not where we come from. And I feel like they don't want to cater to that.
Can I add one more thing that Evelyn said? Oh, I was gonna say, I was listening to, I forget the professor's name, but he was talking about how back in the day,
John Brace.
Oh,
yeah, how back in the day everybody was black. If you were Cuban, you were black. If you were Latino, you were considered as black. And then I was also reading, a document or like a survey or whatever about what the white people used to do back in the day in order to, bring an internal divide into the black community. And what they would do is, I feel like this is what they still do nowadays, is they would bring the resources that the black people wanted and put them in different places. And then they would take the black people from the communities where they were helping out and making a difference, and then be like, okay, well, you're excelling more than the rest of your friends, so come over here. And one by one, they're taking all these black people out, and what's left is the people who are not succeeding. If you notice nowadays, all the big universities, all the Ivy League universities and stuff, they're all located in places of where everyone is majority, where the majority of the people are white. And then places where the majority of people are black or minorities, there is no resources. I feel like if the government or the country or the university actually really wanted to help people, they'll bring these resources to where people actually needed the help.
It's called critical service learning. We could get into another topic about that. My last thing is, what did anyone else want to comment on how colorism? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Five to Sigma, like, having an event in February that's supposed to have, like, the founders of the New Africa House come in and talk and, like, have everyone get to know them. We applied for a grant for ECSA, and they gave us the bare minimum of the grant because they felt that they don't see how, this was a very detailed proposal, by the way, from our grad advisor, and they don't feel like it's gonna benefit the students enough. They don't really understand, like, so what the founders are coming in, how's that gonna benefit the founders? I mean, like us.
The entire campus.
Yeah,
not
the
just
campus,
black campus.
the white people, like, they can come too. It's not just open to the black community. It was made known that, and they also feel that the other reason they wanted to deny giving us more money was because they felt that Afro AM department was having us just sponsor the event. So basically, they didn't really want to help the Afro AM department. They just wanted to help the students, but still, it's not enough for the white people.
Right, because that's a community. Right, because that's you're part of the community.
And we're not allowed to reapply for it.
Did the terms networking, reaching back, not click to them? No. Oh my gosh.
Two things I want to say is I did for one of my classes last semester on history, I did a paper on the takeover of the New Africa House. There was two takeovers, if y'all don't know. The first was the New Africa House originally